Hello, everyone. Cool. Everybody is joining. I'm going to give it about, 60 seconds before I get started. So if you guys want to pop in the chat where you're joining from right now. I'm joining from my apartment behind me in Chiang Mai, Thailand. So it is 9 p.m. Usually I'm asleep by now, but I took a little power nap before this, so I'm pretty wide awake. We have Amy, our lovely moderator. She's joining from Arizona. All right, we got California, London. Nice. I was like, Amy, there's another one from Phoenix, but then I just saw that was you in the chat. Wow, small world. Okay. Georgia, Canada, India, South Africa, Italy. Wow, we have people joining from all over the world. This is incredible. Nice. All right. Okay, we did get one more Phoenix in there. All right, Amy, you're in good company. There's one more in Phoenix. New York, Brooklyn, Chicago, London. Fantastic. Yeah, my big decision was, do I do this call at 7 a.m. or 9 p.m. my time? I'm glad I picked 9 p.m. because I think we're getting Europe in. Fantastic. Cool. Well, I think I'm just going to go ahead and kick things off with this call. So welcome, everyone. This is super, super exciting. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. Can everyone see I can see your faces. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? And is it in full presentation mode? Yes. Okay, fantastic. All right, so I'm just going to give you guys kind of an idea of what you can expect today. So you're going to meet the 6 types of artists on the path to art licensing. You're going to figure out which one of those artists you are, and I'll show you what's actually working for each one of them in 2026. So we've got some good caricatures coming up. Today is the first day of open enrollment for my program, The Art of Collections. This is a 6-month mentorship program to help you build your portfolio, land licensing deals, and earn income essentially doing what you love. And I encourage everyone to stay until the end of the call because today I am giving away 3 full ride scholarships to the Art of Collections with immediate access starting today. So one of those winners is the Skillshare endorsed scholarship we're doing. One goes to the winner of the mini collection challenge, and one goes to someone who's in this Zoom room today in a live drawing at the end of the call. So make sure you stick around until the very end because you could be one of those winners. All right. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So for those who don't know me, my name is Kat Cocolette, and I run a company called Cat Coke. So pretty simply put, I'm an artist. I license my designs on artwork and products pretty much all over the world. Everything from phone cases to wallpaper to bedding to calendars. And I've been doing this full time for over 12 years now. But I've really been an artist all 39 years of my life here. And my work's been licensed and sold by brands like Target, Anthropologie, Crayola, Urban Outfitters, Disney, Nordstrom. And at this point, my designs have been printed on over 1 million products worldwide. And I'm also a teacher. So I've taught over 500,000 students through my classes on Skillshare, which is probably where a lot of you guys know me from, also in my own programs. So I've seen artists at pretty much every single stage of this journey, what works, what doesn't work, and most importantly, what keeps people stuck. So that's going to be the main focus for today. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what's possible, and I want you to meet a few people who were exactly where you are now, and then they joined the Art of Collections. So I'm going to come over here and do a little screen share.
I signed my first licensing deal.
I got a great deal with Stubel Industries, and they produce for Wayfair, Home Depot, Marshalls, Target, Walmart.
That one check is more than what I earned in the past three and a half years.
I had 2 of my collections were selected by PMB Textiles, which is a huge global fabric company.
Wayfair licensed 2 of my art prints.
A set of 7 and a 2-year licensing deal.
And then I just recently signed with another licensing agent.
And I just published my first book. And I would have never even done an illustration if it hadn't been for Kat's training.
My artwork's been in Times Square.
And once you get one thing, it just propels you forward.
I'm looking forward to seeing my stuff all over, like at actual stores. I think I'm gonna die a little bit when I see that. I found my purpose.
I just, jumped out of my chair, really.
It was like disbelief mixed with excitement. I feel like I couldn't even breathe for a minute because I was just so excited about it. And I had to read it like 3 times before I could even tell anyone about it. It was very validating, for sure.
I feel that I can go out in the world and say, here's my work.
Those were things that I never thought could happen, and they did.
I saw so many students that would say, like, I pitched my first collection, I got my first contract. That happened so many times throughout this course.
I got the licensing deal. They're saying that the art directors love my work and really want to work with me, and I signed the contract.
I was able to just gain the traction and the confidence to go to a trade show in Paris. I even got a new partner or a new licensor, so I'm really excited about that.
I walked away from that conference with 2 different creators who actually booked me and paid for my services. It was such a confidence boost.
Oh man, I love that. Wow. Super, super inspirational stuff. Really, that's just showing you what's possible. That's Jen, that's Indira, that's Ryan. Jen, she's an engineer, a mom of 2. 1 licensing check paid her more than everything she's earned from her heart in the past 3.5 years. And when the check arrived, her husband joked, "Oh, I can retire now," which is pretty funny. And my favorite part about that one with Jen is a year before she got that deal, Jen bought a planner from her dream stationery company. And she told herself, one day my art will be there. And fast forward to today, that brand took 4 of her designs across 8 product types, and it launches in store later this year. So huge congrats to Jen. I can't wait to see more of your stuff in home goods. And Indira, she was in that video as well. She got laid off, then she joined the Art of Collections and made her first ever collections. And now 19 of her pieces are licensed through Stupel Industries, which is a manufacturer that produces for Wayfair, Home Depot, Marshalls, Target, really, really good stuff. And Ryan, she was a graphic designer who got laid off too. She just signed with an art licensing agent, which is just going to change the game for her entirely. So not long ago, every single one of these artists was essentially exactly where you are now. So there's one more thing about Indira I didn't tell you. She did not pay for the program. She got in on a scholarship. So everything you heard from her, how it happened, all of that, it all happened after she joined the program. That's when she created her first collections, and then everything snowballed from there. So a scholarship winner, they get the full program, nothing held back. I've given away a lot of these scholarships over the last couple of years, and 6 so far for this round that starts today. So today we're going to give 3 more of those away, announced right before we wrap up this call at the end. All right, so here's what all of my students learned, and it's really just the one thing that I wish someone would have told me back when I was starting out. Success in art licensing, it's not just about making more art. It's about making collections that are strategically designed for buyers and then actually pitching them. So a lot of artists don't know this, but once you understand it, that's really when everything begins to change. So that is exactly what we're going to dig into today. All right. Do you like my illustrations? I made these last week. It's the first time I've drawn people since college, but I wanted to create them specifically for this presentation because we're going to be identifying these 6 types of artists, the 6 types that I've met over and over again throughout the years. So, I mean, honestly, over the last 12 years, again, I think I've met about thousands of artists at this point trying to break into art licensing. And these are the 6 types that I see over and over again today. So today we're going to go ahead and meet all of them. One of them might sound familiar to you. And that's actually really good news if it does, because once you know which type of artist you are, you're going to know that fastest way forward. You might even recognize bits of yourself in more than one of these, because I definitely did. And now one last thing before we talk about these 6 artist types. I invited you guys to email me your questions about art licensing before we got started. And this was one of the biggest ones that came up over and over again. So I wanted to address it pretty much head on before we get into all of this. I know what a lot of you are thinking because I got it in your emails. Kat, is art licensing still possible in 2026? Isn't there more competition now? And the honest answer is yeah, it is more competitive than ever. You know, these strategies that worked 10 years ago aren't necessarily working the same today. Print on demand, for example, that was genuinely lucrative for me back in 2014, but it's dried up pretty substantially since then. I'm really, really glad that I didn't just stake everything on the one thing that was working. That's exactly why learning from someone who's really watched this industry change over the last 12 years matters more than ever. And AI art, it is a real factor in the creative world. But right now, we're not seeing it play out at scale in our industry quite yet. The industry is still actively buying. I'm seeing this over and over again. My own deals, my students' deals, there's definitely still a demand for art licensing. We're seeing that, just over and over again. The artists that are winning right now, they're not necessarily more talented than you. They just stopped guessing. And the three artists that you just met a few minutes ago, it was Jen, Indira, and Ryan. Most of that happened for them in the last year. So yes, the industry it's still going, and I'm still giving it my all here in 2026. So let's go ahead and meet those 6 types of artists. This is the first one. This is brand new Bella. Brand new Bella, she loves to create. She's got folders full of gorgeous art at this point, but the licensing world feels like completely new territory for her. So when Bella sits down to figure out what she actually wants to start getting, like how she wants to start drawing to get licensing deals, that's when all of these questions really start piling up. She wonders, what should she even be drawing for licensing? Are the rules different? What happens after the art is made? Does she need a website first? Does she need an agent? What kind of portfolios do art directors even want to see? I saw a lot of these questions coming in via email as well. You know, one night, here she is, brand new Bella. She finally opens her laptop to start the business side. She stares at her screen, and then she just slowly shuts it. So if you can resonate with that, you might be a brand new Bella. One of my students, Shaniqua, she put it pretty perfectly. She said, I knew that I needed to create collections, but I just didn't know where to start. And another one of my students told me I was struggling just to get focus on what I wanted to commit to next. So if that's you, you are not alone, and it's honestly just one of the most common places to be in this journey. And now I want you to meet Overwhelmed Olivia. Overwhelmed Olivia is brand new Bella just 1 year later. So Olivia, she did the research. She did a lot of research. She's got 20 tabs open. She's got 40 saved tutorials. She's on her 100th class. She's watching YouTube videos at midnight. And this is exactly her problem. She's consumed a lot of information, but there's not really a clear sequence to it. There's no method to the madness. She feels like she's collecting puzzle pieces, but she doesn't even know what the picture on the box is supposed to look like. And honestly, a lot of that information is conflicting. So she just keeps researching instead of acting because she's afraid of going down that wrong path entirely. So brand new Bella, she doesn't know where to start. Overwhelmed Olivia has, 50 possible starts, but no way to know which one is actually right. My student, Patty, she described it like this. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. I had no clue where to go. I didn't even know what a collection was. I didn't have a portfolio. Another one of my students said, I'm a complete mess trying to figure this out on my own, just bopping from one idea to another. So yeah, I see a lot of thumbs up. I think a lot of you might resonate with Overwhelmed Olivia over here or brand new Bella. Again, it's one of the most common places to be as an artist. All right, you're going to meet another one. This is Stretched Thin Stephanie. Stretched Thin Stephanie. She's got a full-time job. She's got kids. The house finally goes quiet around 9 p.m. And then she gets like one precious hour at the kitchen table to actually focus on her art business. Stretched Thin Stephanie. She's really not afraid to put in the effort. She will show up every single night to work towards this. Her biggest fear is actually just wasting time. It's spending her only 1 hour of the day on the wrong thing. So my student Dave, he put it like this. I was working a full-time job. I have 2 young kids. I get up early in the morning on a Saturday at 5 a.m. and start drawing because that's the only time I have. So those hours, they really, really add up. You know, a month of late nights is an absolute real investment in your business. And a year of them is super, super powerful. But Stretched Thin Stephanie, she will put in every single hour she can into this business. What she really can't afford is to spend that time guessing. That's the big trap for Stretched Thin Stephanie. And let me tell you what this looked like for me, because I was all three of these artists pretty much all at the same time. So when I started back in 2014, I was doing a lot. I was working constantly, but looking back, only about 10% of what I was actually doing moved the needle towards my licensing goals. The other 90% was busy work. It was me guessing. Like, let me give you some examples here. I thought I needed to look professional before I had any real traction. So I spent, real time building out these wholesale sheets, even before I even had a single wholesale client. It felt productive, but it really wasn't moving my business forward at all. I also had this habit of preemptively solving problems that didn't exist yet, like the wholesale sheets. I would build out these whole systems and materials for these hypothetical future scenarios, and it was just pure busy work. It was me feeling productive. Social media was part of that as well. I felt this real pressure to just show up everywhere all at once. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Behance, Pinterest. I was stretched across 5 or 6 platforms and really struggling with that as well. So here's what I eventually realized. Only 2 things actually mattered in the beginning for a career in art licensing. 1 is creating strong artwork, and 2 is getting that artwork in front of the right people. And I'm going to be really clear about that word artwork. Your art is essentially your product. That's the thing that you're actually monetizing. Everything else was just noise and distractions. So let me just say it plainly. This is what does not work. Random learning does not work. More information doesn't really help you when you're already drowning in it. And trying to do everything at once definitely doesn't work. And, honestly, let's be real here. Nobody hands you the playbook for this industry. No one tells you what art directors actually license, who's actively buying right now, how to go pitch them, what their emails are, everything you need to see before they take you seriously that you want to put in that email. So you're going to do what brand new Bella does, or what overwhelmed Olivia does, what stretched thin Stephanie does. And it's what I did for years, which is you guess. So I call this the guessing game. And the guessing game, it's the real reason that talented artists, they stay stuck. And what works, it's something different. It's a proven step-by-step roadmap. I want to emphasize the word proven here, because there's a lot of advice out there, a lot of do this and this and this. But how do you know if that advice has actually been tested? How do you know if that advice has actually helped other artists land real licensing deals, or if it's just theory? So when you're following unproven advice, you could be wasting your time, or worse, heading down the completely wrong path and then not even really realizing it. So what you need is the right information in the right order from someone who's walked this road and helped thousands of artists do the same. So when you know exactly what to focus on this week or this month, this year, the confusion, the overwhelm, that really starts to trickle away and disappear. When you know exactly what you want to do next, your 1 hour finally goes exactly where it counts. So I want you to meet Kirsten. She spent years as a designer at big ad agencies in Boston. She left it all when she had kids, and then she came into the art licensing world as her second act. So I want you to listen to what actually changed for her.
Every day, all day, schlepping my kids around, which is why I'm always fighting to find time to do my art. I want to invest in myself, and that is going to force me, because now I'm paying money, right? So now it's not just I'm doing this, or it's my hobby. It's so cute. Mom's coloring. No, I'm going to do the challenges. I'm going to go for it and hold myself accountable. I wanted to intentionally carve out force time out for my art. And so that's what's been really beneficial from this online community. I signed my first licensing deal. I had initially presented a deck. I had sent 15 pieces. 8 were selected, and then 2 were ultimately licensed. But they had approached me with 1%. I countered. Why not? What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. With another percentage, and they agreed. So I got a full percentage up. So that was awesome.
I love that. Cool. All right, coming back to the main Zoom room here. Fantastic. All right. I love how she pushed back on that percentage and they agreed. She's like, what do I have to lose? I love that so much for her. Yeah. So Kirsten's story, she went from flailing, that's her word, not mine, to signing her first licensing deal and negotiating her royalty up, all on that first try. Not because she was more talented. She was always talented. It's because she finally had that roadmap. So huge congrats, Kirsten. You just had an incredible journey. And Jody, she even said, you've literally given me the roadmap to launch my surface design career. And I love that so much for Jody. All right, let's move on to artist number 4. 90% Nina. So 90% Nina, she does not need another class. 90% Nina, she's creating a lot. She's got beautiful finished work and her artwork portfolio, it just keeps growing. But here's the real ache that 90% Nina is dealing with. Every time she gets closer to actually putting her work out there, building the portfolio, sending that pitch out, she thinks, I just need one more design, then I'll be ready. And then the months go by, maybe a year goes by. The art has been ready, but the business never actually started. One of my students told me, I thought if I'm just prolific, that's enough. And then she paused and said, it wasn't. So that feeling of putting in real effort and getting no traction, it's honestly just one of the most frustrating places an artist can be. So I want to tell you about my student over here, Elsa, because she totally lived this one too. So Elsa was doing everything. She was building her portfolio. She was getting it to a really nice place, had her website up and running, really creating steadily, adding to her collections, except the one move that turns your art into a business. So here's exactly how she put it. When it came to pitching, I wasn't doing anything and felt so much self-inflicted pressure. Like, what am I doing all this for if I'm not actively reaching out to potential clients? So that is essentially 90% Nina in a nutshell. The art is real, the effort is real, but that one move that, that actually matters, it just keeps sliding to next week. So the good news here is Elsa finally picked out about 8 companies. She started sending pitches. Her words afterwards that were, pitching has started. Whatever happens, this feels like a really big win. So nothing about Elsa's talent changed that week. Honestly, she just stopped trying and waiting to be ready. So I'm just going to name it. What doesn't work? Creating more and more art without a strategy doesn't work. Random one-off pieces don't work. It's much harder to scale your income that way in licensing. Pitching randomly doesn't work. Relying on willpower and motivation alone don't work. They come and go. What works is really something else entirely. So here is what I've learned after 12 years in the industry. It's not about making more art. It's about making collections that are strategically designed for buyers and then actually pitching them. So I'm going to say that again because it's the most important takeaway from today. It's not about making more art. It's about making the right art packaged and presented in the right way. So art directors, they don't generally want just random beautiful pieces. They want collections, cohesive bodies of work that fit their product line. And that's really what seems to be the missing link for just so many artists. You've got the talent, you've got the work. It's just not packaged in a way that makes an art director easily say, yes, I can absolutely use this. So once you've got those strategic collections, that's when you can actually put them out there. Pitching, it's not optional. It's literally the game. But you pitch smart, the right companies, a clear ask, a clear follow-up. Follow-ups are really, really important. Actually, I'll give you one of my favorite follow-up moves, exactly how I do it. So when a company shows interest in one of my designs, maybe they're interested in licensing, a few designs or maybe a whole collection, I always want to get more out of that. So I'll send them a selection of similar artwork to the ones they picked. So maybe they chose 5 pieces. I'm going to send them 15 more and be like, hey, since you guys loved these other pieces, I want to send you some artwork with a really similar look and feel so you've got more options. This is what gets more of my artwork licensed. It also makes the art director's job a lot easier, and it often turns into an ongoing partnership. So after you've landed a few deals, cold pitching, it might stop being your main engine. The work starts coming back to you with recurring gigs from companies you've already worked with, but you've still got to start with that cold outreach. So everything I just said, what they license, who actually buys, how they say yes. None of it is secret because it's complicated. It's just secret because no one's told you that. I spent 12 years with all of these behind the scenes learnings. I learned it all the hard way. And the nice thing is, once you know them, that's when the wheels finally catch. It's the right art, packaged in the right way, getting it in front of the right people. So 90% Nina, she's not lazy, she's stuck because she's guessing. And this is Shelly. So Shelly had years of real skills, whole library of repeat patterns, random pieces. She'd been kind of treating it a bit like a hobby. So I want you to watch what happened when she started working strategically.
Before the course, I'd been creating art for years. Licensing isn't just about making beautiful art. It's about learning how to present your art professionally and strategically. And that's really where everything changed for me. I had 2 of my collections were selected by PMB Textiles, which is a huge global fabric company. I jumped out of my chair, really. Real world progress in less than a year.
Nicely done, Shelly. All right. Yeah, 2 of Shelly's collections got selected by P&B Textiles. If you're not aware of them, that's a huge global fabric company. Her name is actually printed on the selvage of the fabric, which is super cool. If you sew, you know exactly how big of a deal that is. So this is just real world progress in less than a year. Those were her words. And that's actually not her only win. She had 30 more of her pieces. They're headed for online and big box retail, Target, Wayfair, Michaels, Macy's, Nordstrom Rack. Heck yes, Shelly, you are on it, girl. All right, let's talk about artist 5. Meet Solo Sophia. Nobody in Solo Sophia's life knows what a licensing deal is. Her family and friends, they're super supportive. They want her to succeed, but they just don't really get it. She can't exactly ask her husband, should I take a flat fee or hold out for royalties? He would just look at her like she's speaking another language. So when she's got a win, when she finally gets that win, maybe she gets a polite nod from people who don't really understand everything it took for her to get there. When she's struggling, there's no one to ask, is this normal? Am I doing this right? So she's Googling questions at midnight, second guessing everything, feeling completely alone. And by the way, this was me as well. I was definitely a Solo Sophia. One of my students described it like this. It's like walking into a room and not knowing anything. Everyone already knows what they're doing, but you're trying to figure it out. Another one said, I felt like I was on the outside looking in. So if that resonates, I want you to know you're not imagining it. This industry, it can be honestly pretty isolating. I felt this one pretty deeply. When I first got into licensing, I was doing it before I even knew what the words for it were. I had never heard the term art licensing or surface pattern design, but I was already doing both of those things. I remember telling my friends and family that I had discovered this brand new income stream that nobody knew existed. That's how disconnected I was. I see my dad here in this Zoom call. Dad, I remember telling you I discovered something insane, but I didn't even have the words or the vocabulary to describe what it was I was doing. I went to these entrepreneur meetups in Kansas City. I was really hoping to find my people, but everybody there was a freelancer, and I wasn't really doing much freelancing at the time. I was in licensing, but I couldn't even explain what I did. That summer, after I quit my job, I joined a 6-week business accelerator when I lived in Kansas City. It was pretty standard, stuff like balance sheets, cost of goods sold, just business fundamentals. But the most valuable part of that entire program, it wasn't all of the content. It was actually a single conversation that I had at the very end. It was a one-on-one with the instructor, and she told me, Kat, you're doing everything right. You have a very, very strong business. And that one moment of validation, to me, it felt worth more than all of the hours of coursework, because at that point, what I needed, it wasn't more information. It was someone experienced to tell me that I was on the right track. So Here's what doesn't solve this, because I got to put this in there. A lot of artists, they try to fix the loneliness the same way they try to fix everything else. They try to kind of piece together a strategy from what they find online. Free Facebook groups. And listen, it's not because the people are bad. A lot of you guys are in those groups. I'm in those groups too. But everyone in a free group, they're asking those same beginner questions, and no one's really a step ahead of you to answer them. Following artists on Instagram, you're going to see the highlight reel. You don't necessarily see the messy middle. You can't ask them those nitty-gritty questions. And courses that are just videos and nothing else, like YouTube, there's no roadmap, there's no accountability, no hand-holding. You're still alone, still guessing, really still wondering if you're doing this right. But here is what works. Real community, honest feedback on your work. You can ask, is this normal? And it's going to be answered by someone who actually knows that. The first 6 months in an art business are usually the hardest. That's the time where you need support through that really fragile launch phase so that you don't burn out, don't quit, don't just kind of spin your wheels and lose traction of what you're trying to build. So I want you to meet Jessica. For years, nobody in Jessica's life spoke this language either. And I want you guys to listen to what changed.
It was always a bit of a struggle, like, how do I even do this? But before, I just had no idea how to really even go about it. Other people in your life don't really understand what you're even talking about when you're talking about licensing or talking about royalties or talking about what a collection is, So just having a space where I can talk about that, everyone knows what I'm saying, and everyone has varying degrees of experience, but everyone understands what's happening. I just think that's so valuable, and I don't have that anywhere else in my life except in this space that Kat's created. But Wayfair licensed 2 of my art prints or I guess including a pattern. I got the email on my birthday, so that was like the best birthday present ever. It was very validating for sure.
Nicely done, Jessica. She, again, got 2 of her pieces licensed by Wayfair. And I love that the email actually landed on her birthday, which has got to be like the best birthday present ever. But did you guys catch what she said about the room? She said, I don't have that anywhere else in my life except in the space Kat's created. That's what it feels like when you really stop doing this alone. All right, one more artist to meet, and this one is doing a very specific kind of math in her head right now. Meet Career Change Claire. So Career Change Claire, she's good at her job, but she is quietly just done with it. Maybe she's in a creative field. Maybe she's watching layoffs and AI kind of circle the design work. Maybe she's nowhere near a creative field and she's just done with the corporate grind. Either way, there is one single thought that really keeps her up at night. She thinks, I've sunk years into this career. Is it too late to start over? Is art licensing even a real path, or am I being naive? So if you're doing that math right now, this one's definitely for you, because I did that math too. Actually, I'll just tell you the whole thing. So I spent 5 years in college for a creative career, and then I climbed the ladder from the ground up. So post-grad internship, junior designer, senior designer, and then finally the promotion that everyone is really supposed to want, art director. I thought I wanted it, but I hated it. There were just these soul-sucking corporate clients, creative ideas just distilled by committee. I think I was working on like my 100th gift card concept for the same brand, just like more delegating the designing at that point. I still remember like the exact moment I was done, and I sent this out in an email a few days ago. A client of mine, they dumped like a giant trash bag of popcorn on set. We were doing a photo shoot. I was art directing, and I spent like a full hour hand sorting popcorn to find the most photogenic pieces. And like somewhere in that hour, I was just like screaming inside my own head, being like, what are you doing? This is not what you want, Kat. So that was my moment where I realized Career Change Claire might be for me. And, I was tired of the fact that 100% of my income came from a single company that could fire me at any moment. I didn't like that part either. But here's the part of the story I really need you to hear. I didn't just walk in the next morning and quit. I started building my licensing income from the side. So I built it up in my nights and weekends around my day job. I did not hand in my notice at all until my art was reliably making me more than my paycheck. I'm a very risk averse person. So by the time I quit, it didn't feel like a leap of faith. It was just the math, right? So I broke into the art licensing industry from the outside with no map, but I spent 12 years learning, turning what I did learn into this map so that you don't have to guess the same way I did. So let me be really clear about the moral of the story. It's not go quit your job. The moral is start now and let that income tell you when it's actually time to pivot. So remember Indira and Ryan from the beginning, both were career changers. They were both laid off and they both started here from zero. Indira, she got laid off, joined the Art of Collections with 0 collections. The first 3 collections she built inside the program all got licensed, plus her licensing deal that you heard about earlier with 19 pieces. Also, Nike reached out to her to collaborate, which is just epic. And a few months ago, she signed on with a global art licensing agency. So now she's even got her own agents. So good job, Indira. And Ryan, she got laid off. She was a graphic designer. She sent over 100 pitches, and she also just signed with a licensing agency. So now they are both represented by agencies. You heard Ryan say it. Those were things I never thought could happen until they did. So that's what the other side looks like. Indira and Ryan, they started after the layoffs forced them to. I recommend starting before. So you've met all 6 artists, and here's what I want you to remember. I went through every single one of these challenges myself. And while I was living them, I just kept thinking, I wish I had someone to just tell me what I was doing wrong. I wish I had someone who would look at my art and tell me if it was good enough to be licensed, or if not, tell me exactly what I needed to change. I wish I had somebody to tell me what to do next. Like, okay, you're done with this step, now move on to this step. I wish I knew how the industry worked so that I didn't feel like a naive outsider every single time I was trying to pitch to someone. And then I heard from thousands of artists who said that they wanted these exact same things. So I built it, and it is called the Art of Collections. It is a 6-month mentorship program to help you build your portfolio, land licensing deals, and earn income doing what you love. It's taught by me, someone whose art has been licensed on over 1 million products worldwide. And I want to be really clear here. This is not just another course where you watch some videos and then you just go figure out the rest on your own. This is curriculum, community, coaching. It's all built in. So by the end of the 6 months, you'll have a client-ready portfolio, a clear path, and hopefully a few licensing deals under your belt as well. And here's the part I really love. Everything that actually works in this industry, everything we walk to today, it really just comes down to 3 basic moves, which I named the CAT method because, I mean, hello. Here, let me break it down for you. The CAT method. You consume a proven roadmap, not random advice, the exact steps in the exact order from someone who's done it. You apply every month, building the cohesive collections, the ones art directors actually want to license, with real feedback from a community that actually gets it. And you take action. You pitch the right companies the right way, you follow up, you never ever do it alone. So do these 3 things and you're not guessing anymore. At that point, you're executing a proven strategy. All right. C, you consume the proven roadmap. That's really the course itself. So the course videos, we've got 7+ hours of in-depth training, all broken down into these clear, actionable modules with course downloads to kind of help you out along the way. I also give you lifetime access to the course videos. That's something I personally really believe in. I want you to go back, watch the negotiations video, watch it when you sign up, but maybe 3 years from now, you're about to enter a big negotiation. Go back, watch that video, get a nice refresher. That's why I give you lifetime access to those course videos. I'll break down kind of what's inside. We've separated it into 4 parts with the videos. Part 1 is designing collections that sell. So this is all the strategy behind high performing art collections. I got a lot of emails about this today as well. How do you know what to create that an art director is actually going to say yes to? Those are coming through. That's what comes through in this part 1 section. We really break it down. Proven themes, real examples, how to generate fresh, marketable ideas. And part 2 is creating a strategic collection from scratch. This is my proven process, step by step, from strategic brainstorming all the way through to final art. I give you these presentation templates as well so that you can just drag and drop your collections right into there and have it ready to go to pitch to art directors. Part 3 is advanced collection techniques. So this is how to quickly create new collections from older artwork, which you can absolutely do. By the way, art licensing is great. I get designs licensed. I've had a design, actually I had 3 licensed last month that I created. At this point, I painted them over 10 years ago. So that's one of my favorite things about art licensing. Older artwork has power too. So part 3 is how to quickly create new collections from older artwork, design mini collections with specific sets, really curating your work for these different markets, and it all gets broken down. And part 4, pitch, present, and land the deal. This is how to get your collections in front of the right people. So we've got our proven pitch templates, discovery calls, contracts, how to decide whether to go solo or work with an agent. That all gets broken down in module 4. So it's not just theory, it's do this, then this, then this, step by step broken out for you. So the right information in the right order, really no more guessing on what to focus on. And A, you apply it. I mean, on a real collection every month, and that is our monthly drop. So every month inside the collective, you're going to get a collection brief from what's actually getting licensed right now. I build these briefs myself, built off of what I know art directors actually want to see. This is an example of one of ours. So we drop 1 a month. It's the themes and collection types that buyers are actually asking for right now. So you don't feel like you're just staring at a blank page wondering what to make. You're getting feedback from the community while you build, and you can follow these briefs to help guide you with your collections. Also, with our monthly drops, every month you get a business builder action step, and that's one concrete move on the business side. I'll tell you this, my pitch follow-up business builder alone, that one has produced more licensing deals in our community than any other of the business builders out there. It's definitely a good one. Pitch follow-up. It's really, really important. And I break it down in that exact business builder. So students are landing deals and agency representation straight off these collection briefs, all built around these main themes that we drop every month. So you don't need another class. You needed a deadline and a finish line every single month. And taking action. You take what you learned and then you actually pitch it the right way. And you never do it alone because the community is what gets that pitch sent. That's the Cat Coke Collective, my private community inside the Art of Collections. So that's monthly live calls with me, coaching, feedback, collection reviews. You get those from your peers. I jump in on some of those myself. Plus pre-pitch feedback before you hit send, so you feel like you're never pitching into the void. We have a lot of students in our community that get advice from others on, hey, how does this sound? And, the room itself is really the reason this all works. Our community, it's not a room of only beginners. It's beginners next to artists with multiple deals, repeat clients, and agency representation, plus the industry experts I bring in. People actually show up. It's certainly not a ghost town, so you'll never feel like you're doing this alone again. And it works. Abby, she opened her inbox to a message from an art agency that found her work on its own and they wanted to sign her. And Olga, she told me, I've made more progress since this program started than the last 8 months of dilly-dallying on my own. And honestly, the whole I signed my first licensing contract posts, I love seeing those. They never get old. So I'm going to show you what's possible when you actually have the knowledge, the roadmap, the accountability, and the community all in one. So these are all going to be real students, real results, and I'm just going to go through them rapid fire. We've got a few to get through. First up is Hillary. She made one cocktail design. She loved it. She turned it into a set of 3 and then pitched it. The company came back and they asked her to extend the style using the cocktail she's already drawn. So she went from a set of 3 to a 7-piece 2-year licensing deal. Huge congrats, Hillary. And Maria, she had yoga mats on her dream list for years. She pitched a yoga mat company. It was a luxury yoga mat company, and she got an email back from the owner herself. So Maria landed that deal in the exact category, plus 3 paid commissions and a podcast invite. So Maria, congrats, nicely done. And Susan, her art is now on e-commerce with Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, Wayfair, Amazon, and Michael's. These are collections she created inside the program. And Nat, she put off pitching for months, thinking she wasn't ready, that she needed to have more work first. Then she finally pushed herself to send 1 email. The company loved her style, they talked terms, and she signed her very first ever licensing deal. And Katrina, she called herself the poster child for all the things that I warned not to do, which I found really funny. For years, she did not pitch at all. Then she used the pitch deck templates that I provide inside the program. Instead of reading silence as a no, she followed up on those old pitches using our pitch follow-up business builder. And that follow-up became her first ever licensing contract with a major fabric company. And Rachel, she pitched to a wall art company and they licensed 2 of her designs. One of them she'd made more than a year earlier, actually, from my Create with Cat Coke challenges. Those are the email prompts I give you guys if you're on my email list. Rachel's words were, "I am feeling super prepared now to use words like exclusive and territories and royalties." So that strategic work, it doesn't expire, and that's exactly what Rachel learned. And Alexandra, she negotiated her first real contract halfway through the program, and she asked for more than they offered, which, yes, that's obviously going to be one of my tips. And she's actually been published in Uppercase Magazine. So yeah, Alexandra, you had some real successes. All right, I'm going to rapid fire some of these because we've got some good ones. Haley got a reply from an art director within an hour of submitting. That's huge. Amy, who I see on this call, hey, Amy Severino, she built 21 collections in her first year in the program. She went above and beyond. And Jody, a hand-poured candle company, reached out to Jody about licensing 4 designs for their packaging. They came to her. And Alex, she sent her first round of pitches ever, 5 of them. One company came back wanting to license her art. And Elizabeth, she licensed her work as wallpaper for a holiday installation, and she priced it with confidence. I love hearing that, priced it with confidence. And Rosalind, the first company that licensed Rosalind's illustrations, they kept coming back to license more and more, and then a large toy company reached out to her as well. And Shaniqua, she finished all 12 monthly collections in a row. She grew her portfolio to a great place, and she's licensed 3 illustrations for paint sets. And Dave's artwork has been in Times Square and Visual Arts Journal. He made it at 5 a.m. around a full-time job and 2 kids. And Catherine, she signed with an agency, and she's got 8 artworks in production right now. So these are all real artists with real results. So when I ask students what they'd say to someone who's on the fence about joining, the answer that I hear over and over again is just the same 2 words: do it. So let me tell you exactly what you get inside the program. So when you join the Art of Collections, here's everything that's included. Lifetime access to the full course videos. That's all 4 parts forever at your own pace. You get 6 months access inside the Cat Coke Collective community. That is our community component of the program. Plus live monthly calls with me. Every month we get on a 90-minute live call. I change the time around throughout the year to accommodate different time zones and different guest speakers wherever they're coming from. And a new collection brief and business builder every single month. We do these during our monthly drops. And my pitch script and templates. These are the exact ones that my students use to get responses from art directors. Plus portfolio feedback, pre-pitch feedback on your actual work from our amazing and engaged community. It's really a special place, and I love just seeing how supportive everyone is, giving great feedback on artwork, recommendations for what to improve, what's already working well. It's really just a very, very supportive community. And when your 6 months are up in the community, you graduate with the option to continue as a legacy member at an affordable rate. So actually, the majority of my students, they actually decide to stay on and continue growing after their 6 months have expired. So I'm really, really proud of that. It's wonderful to see so many people stick around. And then there's the guest experts. So this is the part I could honestly just talk about all day. We've got a wonderful, wonderful catalog of experts. So I'm going to go through some of the ones that are coming up. We've got Katie from Jewel Branding. So this is my actual art licensing agency. Jewel is who represents me. So Katie is coming on. She's doing a live session with our members actually just in a few weeks. It's coming up later this month. If you join now, you're going to be on that call. So Katie's going to be answering our questions. She'll tell you straight up what Jewel looks for in the artists they represent, what their clients are buying, and what works and what doesn't. So you get to ask a working agent anything. I'm collecting questions in advance from my community right now, and we're just going to spend a full hour with Katie picking her brain. She's a very, very great resource. And we've got Jess Miller coming up. She's going to be talking about brand partnerships. She's worked with Adobe and other really big deal clients, and she's going to tell us exactly how she does it. And Liz KB. I know a lot of you know Liz Kohler-Brown. She's going to be talking about scoring big brand licensing deals using alternative pitching paths. So when I was talking with Liz back and forth about what she wanted her segment to be on, I told my students this already, but Liz was like, so I guess everybody, like, they don't like pitching, right? And I'm like, oh no, everyone hates pitching. And she was like, great, I'm going to come on and talk about all the alternatives that are out there. So I am personally really, really excited for this one. And we've got my friend John from Revision Legal. He's going to come on in December, I believe is when I've slotted him, on our monthly call, talking about protecting your art and your copyright, what to do if someone steals your art. We get to pick John's brain for an hour, and I'm really excited to bring him on because he speaks like a normal human being. He's not just going to use legalese and go totally over your head. I also told my students in the community this last week on our live call, it took me like 2 years to find a lawyer that I was like, no, this is the one. This is going to be the best one to come and talk to us. So really, really excited for this coming up. And these speakers, this is just who's lined up for the rest of 2026. And we've got more to come in January. So plus, we have the full back catalog of expert sessions. This is all waiting for you when you join the program. It's in our resources hub, and we've got 14 of them, I believe, right now and growing. All of the guest experts I bring on, it's successful artists, marketing pros, art licensing agents, pitching strategy, email, money, really all of it. I point members to this one right here, Vanessa's, constantly. So she was our July guest speaker last month, and she talks about how she worked with 4 different licensing agencies, had a lot of trial and error, and shared everything she learned and how she finally landed with her dream agency. So anyone that's been weighing agency representation, I point them to that video. I'm like, go watch that replay first. Vanessa's got so much knowledge in here. So that's really the whole part of my guest expert series. My path, it's not the only path. I want to bring in as many others that can show you what's worked for them, how it's worked, finding these people who are really generous sharing their knowledge. So that's also what's waiting for you inside the program. So when you add it all up, the course, the roadmap, 6 months of community, live calls, the briefs, the feedback, the agents, IP attorney, and on the really just the working artists coming on, teaching inside of the program. That's my 12 years of industry knowledge. You really can't piece together alone. And I think it's worth, the program probably several times from what I charge for it, but I want this to be accessible to artists who are just getting started. So here's the investment. You can pay in full $1,997 one time, or you can do a payment plan, $367 a month for 6 months. And here's my promise. Once you join, you've got 14 days. Either you love it or you get your money back. No questions asked. All right, here's why now is probably the best time to join the Art of Collections. One of the biggest waves of art licensing, it's actually happening in the spring. It's when many companies are reviewing portfolios, choosing work, planning future collections around major industry events and trade shows. There's a lot of trade shows happening in the spring. It's when a lot of deals are getting signed. Licensing opportunities, they exist year round, but spring is typically the busiest season for that. So thinking about that timing, If you join now, by the time those companies are choosing next year's collections, you could be ready for that. One more date for your calendar. Enrollment closes Tuesday, August 18th. So after that, doors close and we go back to fully mentoring our current students. I'm not going to open doors again until 2027. All right, the part everyone has been waiting for. We've got 3 full ride scholarships I'm giving away. So somebody's life is about to get very, very fun. First, we've got the mini collection challenge. So first of all, everyone who finished a mini collection this month, I am so, so proud of you. That's really the exact muscle that this whole program builds. So the winner is Riley. Huge congratulations, Riley. Thank you so much for submitting your work for the mini collection challenge. Go ahead and shoot me an email, hello@catcoke.com, and I'll get you set up with access starting today. And we also have a Art of Collections sponsored scholarship that went out. So we ran the contest. The entries were absolutely incredible. And the winner of the Skillshare Indoor Scholarship is Shannon Day. So huge congratulations, Shannon. Thank you so much for applying. And same thing, shoot me an email at hello@catcoke and we'll get you all set up with access starting today. But wait, I decided to give another full ride scholarship endorsed by Skillshare. Surprise, guys, there's a 4th scholarship getting announced. And that surprise bonus 4th winner is Susan Hudgens. And Susan actually participated in the mini collection challenge and applied for the Skillshare scholarship. So she got a little double whammy there. Congratulations, Susan. Your mini collection here is absolutely stunning. And that's right, we've got we've got another one. It's the live draw. I totally forgot about this one. We're drawing one person who's live in this room right now. And the winner is it's Vero Gutierrez. So huge congratulations, Vero. Go ahead, same thing, email me, hello@catcoke.com right after this, and we'll get your access set up. So thank you so much for sticking around all the way until the end. I hope it was worth it. Congratulations to all 4 of you. You're not doing this alone anymore, and I can't wait to see what you create inside the program. All right. I want to take some time to answer your questions. I do want to note here, we are at the hour, but I'm just going to keep going. I want to make sure I get your questions answered. So if you need to hop off, totally fine. I'll be posting the replay tomorrow and sending it out via email. But if you want to stick around, I'm here. I'm all jazzed. You know, it's 10 p.m., but I've had my coffee, and I'm just going to go ahead and answer a lot of questions that came in. So what I would love is for you, if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat, and I'll be answering those next. But I'm going to start with some of the questions that came in via email. So I'm going to answer some of those email questions first, and then we're going to come around to the live chat questions after that. Okay, this was a big one. Am I ready? I haven't found my style yet. So this is by far one of the most common things I was seeing in the emails you guys were sending me when I asked what questions you had about this whole career in art licensing. So I want to say the Art of Collections, it helps you build your portfolio. You do not need a finished one to get started in the program. A lot of students come in feeling like they're not ready. That's exactly why they need that structure. So you develop your style as you go through the process. I gave some examples earlier where I showed students who joined the program, created collections inside the program. That's what they pitched. They weren't relying on existing artwork when they joined. So if you've got existing art, fantastic. But if you're starting from scratch, this is totally the right place for that as well. This is another biggie. I've never created a collection before. Am I too much of a beginner for this? So you're exactly who I built this program for. You know, many students come in never having made a collection at all. We walk through exactly how to create these strong, intentional collections. And a lot of students create their very first collection ever once they're inside the program. They follow these monthly collection briefs alongside other people who are doing the same thing. So if you've never created a collection, you're not behind. You're just at the start, and you can be at the start with a map. Another common one, what if my work isn't good enough yet for licensing? So my student Patty, she knew this feeling pretty well. Her words were, I faked it. I told everybody, oh, it's wonderful. But inside I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Does anybody like my stuff? Am I good enough? And honestly, you know, what Patty was describing there, Her fear, it sounds like imposter syndrome, not reality. The fastest way to grow is to actually get started. So by creating work intentionally and putting a stake in the ground, you give yourself something real to actually build from. Progress, it actually comes from doing, not just from waiting until everything feels absolutely perfect and like you're ready. And when you're surrounded by other motivated artists, how you see your own artwork is going to change. Growth accelerates really when you're not doing this alone. And is this only for US artists? Nope. We have artists all over the world. We've got UK, Australia, Hong Kong, Brazil. You saw Jen today. She's in Hong Kong. This strategy applies everywhere. You don't need to be location specific to be able to find success in licensing. Like I mentioned, I work with global brands. Jen and I actually, she and I both licensed through the same agents or through the same company based out of France, getting products put into home goods in the United States. So you don't need to be in one place for this to work. I travel full time and I make it work as well. This is another one. I bought too many courses already. Not a question, but a statement that I'd like to address because I totally get it. But I will say this, the art of collections, it's not just another course that's going to collect dust, because the thing you're missing isn't more videos. It's the briefs, the deadlines, the people, the accountability. You're not just watching lessons and then hope you follow through. You've got structure, you've got people checking in, and that's really what this accountability does. This is a biggie too. What happens if I fall behind or I can't keep up? So this whole program is built around a roadmap, so you always know where you are and then what to focus on next. So if you miss a week or a month, you're not off track. You just pick up exactly where you left off. So some members are balancing this alongside full-time jobs and family life. Others go a lot faster because they're working on this full-time. But both of those are totally valid. What really matters is these consistent, intentional steps, not necessarily speed. And by the way, I mentioned this earlier, but if 6 months isn't enough, every student has the option to stay on as a legacy member at an affordable rate after they graduate, which again, it's what the majority of my students choose to do inside the program. So you've got that ongoing support for as long as you need it, well past the 6 months if you'd like that. And another biggie, what if I don't have time? So I'm going to paint a picture. It's 6 p.m. You just finished dinner. You're home from your 9-to-5 job. You've got 1 hour, just like Stretched Thin Stephanie. What is more time effective? Is it following a proven roadmap where you know exactly what to do, or spending an hour trying to figure out what you should even be doing in the first place? So this course is self-paced with lifetime access. Students watch lessons on their commute. There's no behind. And if you want more time again in the community, that's where the legacy membership is there for you. So you can continue at your own timeline. So the structure doesn't cost you time. It actually gives your time somewhere to go. This is a big one. Cold pitching. I had to add this one because, a lot of you asked me some version of this in emails as well. I hate cold pitching. Do I have to cold pitch forever? So I'm going to be totally straight with you. Cold pitching is absolutely crucial early on. It's how you get your first deals. You build your first relationships that way. But down the road, that strategy, it changes a little bit. Repeat deals with existing clients and agency representation, they can start carrying more and more of the load, and you can scale the cold outreach way back once you built up that roster. So you heard it in the stories today. Follow-ups, repeat clients, agents, cold pitching, it's a season, it's not a life sentence. All right, remember, you are protected either way. 14 days, either you love it or you get your money back, no questions asked. Okay, here's where we are. You've got a choice to make today because there's really only two paths. Path one, you keep playing the guessing game. Brand new Bella, overwhelmed Olivia, stretched thin Stephanie, 90% Nina, solo Sophia, career change Claire. All 6 of them are on that path, and you know exactly where it goes because you've been walking it. Or path two, you stop guessing. You start building strategic collections that art directors actually want. You pitch the right companies the right way. You've got people in your corner who speak your language. You feel like an insider, not like someone who's on the outside looking in. So ask yourself where you'll be in the spring when companies are choosing next year's collections. Are you going to be still guessing, or will you be ready? Doors close on Tuesday, August 18th, so they're open for about 8 days in total. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. That was really, really fun, and I can't wait to see you on the inside. All right, that is the end of our official training workshop for today. But like I mentioned, I'm going to stick around a little bit, answer your questions. So if anything is on your mind, go ahead and drop it in the chat. And I'm going to come over here and get into the chat. Here we go. All right, let's see what kind of questions came in. Indri said, what I feel most confusing about art licensing right now are mostly technical issues, what artboard size that actually uses in the industry, what proper format, layering, grouping, etc., how many colors, file size stuff. Okay, yeah. So this is a question around how to even prepare your files in the first place. The short answer is layered high resolution files. I would start there and then not worry too much about all the other details. Don't invent problems ahead of time like I did. Pitch that artwork first, see who picks it up. And if a client needs you to modify their files, that's when you deal with it. So anytime a client asks me something that's going to take more than an hour, like sometimes they'll say, hey, can you vectorize this watercolor? I'm always going to clarify because usually they don't actually literally need me to vectorize watercolor or whatever their insanely huge ask is. So a lot of times it's just they need a certain type of file sent. Maybe it needs to be a layered working file. I can go ahead and send that. I don't need to spend time, modifying the file based off of their needs. Another one is a lot of companies have in-house design teams, and so a lot of them handle that work for me. But again, Indri, circling back to what you said, high res and layered. So if you are working in like rasterized artwork like me, like you paint with watercolors or you draw and you scan it in, or you draw on your iPad and Procreate, then I recommend working on the largest possible canvas size that you can so that your artwork is nice and big and it could be printed on something like a shower curtain or as small as, maybe a notebook. But yeah, in terms of worrying about all the nitty gritty about file setup like RGB, CMYK, Pantone, again, layered high-res files, that's the most important thing. And if the company you're working with needs details on those files later, you can work back and forth with them. But again, I wouldn't invent problems before they come up. I will say this, in 12 years I've been doing this, I think I can't think of a single time that a contract fell through because they couldn't use my files. Yeah, no, it always tends to work out. So high res, layered, that's going to be your goal. And we cover that inside the program as well. So that's something that gets addressed right from the get-go. I've got a video inside the Art of Collections called Artwork Quality, and that's where it breaks down exactly what I mean when I say layered and exactly what I mean when I say high res. But if you've taken any of my classes on Skillshare, that's the exact same way I do it here. So big old artboards in Photoshop. All right, we've got another question from Nicole. She says, how do I find the balance between making art I love and creating art that companies actually want to license? How can I figure out what types of artwork are actually getting licensed? How do I know whether I'm pitching the right companies and the right kind of work? Okay, so this is a big question about marketable art. What makes marketable art? And in this career within art licensing, it's really important to strike a balance between what you love and then what actually sells. So one of my tips is to actually go in store, see what types of designs are selling. That's exactly what got licensed within the last year to 6 months. So that's going to be a really good indicator. What types of artwork, color palettes, themes, literally go see what's in that commercial landscape. That's going to point you in the right direction. So for me, I'm here in Thailand. I'm not in the US with home goods everywhere where a lot of my clients are selling through. So what I do, I almost asked my dad to do this, who is still on this call. I almost asked him to do a home goods trip once a week and then just record a video the whole time and then send it to me. And I want to see everything that's on the shelves. And then before I asked him, I was like, no, Kat, there's got to be a better way. And so I set up an Instagram account. It's just a burner account. And all I do is I follow influencers that are going through home goods and doing these in-store walkthroughs. There's people that will go through stores, point out everything that they're seeing on shelves. And for me, being in Thailand, not being in the US, that's how I do a lot of my research as well. So if I want to see what's in store right now selling, I'm either going to walk in store, which I can't do right now because here I am on the other side of the world, or I'm going to find people who are doing that and follow them on social media so that I can kind of get a peek that way. That would be a probably my biggest tip for you, Nicole, talking about what's actually selling, what's marketable. And then if you are going in store, finding those products, my biggest tip is, and this is something I did the hard way, I started pitching like the big companies like Nordstrom, Target, Anthropologie. And those were some very unsuccessful pitches on my end that I sent. But the way that I got my artwork in those stores is because I started getting contracts with the manufacturers that then pitch for retail placement with those stores. So the way it actually works behind the scenes is I will strike up a deal with a manufacturing company that's maybe making like phone cases or journal covers or wallpaper. And we'll get that licensing deal signed and secured. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take that artwork, maybe that wallpaper or that bedding, and they're going to pitch it to Target or they're going to pitch it to Anthropologie to compete for in-store placement. And that's how I get my stuff in store. So when you're going and doing that in-store research to see commercially viable artwork, don't forget, every time you pick up a product, turn it over, see who the manufacturer is. Those are the people that you want to be pitching to getting art licensing deals. Okay, next up. Let's see, we had Gabriella. She says, the biggest challenge is understanding how to bridge the gap between having a strong portfolio and actually landing that first deal. I currently have collections, but I'm unsure what the highest impact next step should be. Should I build more collections, refine my portfolio, research manufacturers, or pitch consistently? So yeah, this is a biggie, Gabriella. I think that I probably answered your question just by going through this workshop today. But you know, most artists stall between a portfolio and the deal because they think they need more art, not necessarily, which isn't necessarily true. It's usually about having the right type of art packaged and pitched the right way. So really that's that CAT method kind of coming into play. You consume a proven roadmap, you apply that knowledge through those monthly briefs, and then you take action, which is pitching. So that would be my recommendation for you. Stop building more collections solo, plug into a system, get these monthly briefs, the pre-pitch feedback, accountability. It sounds like you're in the same spot as Kirsten, as in Shelley, portfolio and collections, but no traction until they really have that system. All right. Let's see. We have Lisa. She said, I have so many motifs and ideas started for patterns. I just don't know if what I have is something art directors actually want. I need to focus on one thing at a time, but how do I choose what one thing should happen? Lisa, you are an overwhelmed Olivia. Here we have one. I knew there was going to be different archetypes in this group, but yeah, Lisa, to kind of circle back, two things really matter. It's your product, which is your artwork. That's the thing you're monetizing. And two, it's getting it packaged in the right way and getting it in front of the people who are going to monetize it for you. So if you were going to distill licensing into a simple sentence, that's really what the strategy is. So at this point, those are the two things that really matter. Getting those collections made and then getting them in front of the right people. That's what I would be focusing on. Let all that other stuff, it's important, but let that kind of simmer for a little bit, focus on that core, and that's really what's going to suit you the best. And in terms of that commercially viable artwork, again, what's working well in the market. My collection briefs cover this, but you can also just follow the home goods influencers as well and get and kind of piece that together yourself if you'd like to as well. Veronica says, do you think I need a personal website or can I continue with my Behance portfolio? Can I focus on the pieces and on an individual PDF to send? Oh, okay. So Veronica, I used my Society 6 as my portfolio for like the first 5 years, I think. It was about the first 5 years of me doing deals. So I did not have like a perfectly polished like Behance portfolio. I would just send them a link to my Society 6 shop and I'd be like, you can go find all of my artwork there. It worked well for me in the beginning, like for individual pieces, but the biggest roadblock I ran into with that was I wasn't getting collections licensed. And so when I started, sending them full collections in a PDF instead of just my Society 6 portfolio, I started getting more artwork licensed. So I'll say this. You can continue with your Behance portfolio. If that's working, it's working. My Society 6 worked, but to scale, I really needed to make collections and then show that artwork together cohesively. And by the way, I provide the collection templates inside the Art of Collections. You don't need to start from scratch there. They're just drag and drop templates. So really these targeted pitches, they outperform even the more generic ones. I just realized I'm still sharing, so I'm going to stop that screen share and come back here so you can see my face. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. What other questions came in from the chat? Lori wrote, I know that I need multiple income streams, but I'm wondering if I'm spreading myself too thin. Need to know where to focus my energy. She said, I'm opening an Etsy shop with mugs that I've made by Gelato. Yeah, I think diversifying your income is incredibly important to do. And that's something I do within art licensing as well. I definitely have my biggie clients that I really rely on, like these reliable contracts. But I try to diversify as much as humanly possible. So you can get to a point with licensing where, yes, you'll have your big players, hopefully repeat deals with those same players, but you can also diversify. You can work with smaller clients. You can work with different product industries. There's all sorts of ways of kind of mixing that around. All right, let's see what else came in. Sneha wrote, could you walk us through the autonomy of an art licensing deal with pricing, all kinds of juicy details? Yeah, so let's see. Let me think of one. I just walked through this one with my students in my community. It's for a major stationery company, and it's for a collection. It's going to be an aisle end cap for Target that launches next summer. So I'm really excited for it. It's going to be my first ever end cap. I've never done an end cap for Target before, and it's a full collection of my birthday artwork. So the way that this actually went down is they selected, it was one of my new collections that I just created. It was my birthday glow up collection. So I put that in my portfolio, which I actually created under another client's brief, and then they rejected it. And I was just like, no, I got rejected. But then a bigger company actually picked it up later that week. So I was like, yes, I got rejected by the first one and I got this way better opportunity. So the way that actually is going down is they liked the collection that I posted, but it was a mini collection. It didn't have that many designs. It was under 5. And they actually needed, oh man, it was like 32 unique designs. So it was 5 weeks from start to finish. So my April and May were super busy because I was working with putting together all the designs for this client. And the way it looked like was, I told them for cards, like I'm not a copywriter. Can you give me the copy for the cards and any art direction you want to give me? Like if you have an idea for the color palettes you want to use, the motifs, give me as much information as possible and I can work around that. And that's exactly how it went down. And I wrapped a bow on that project, sent over final files about 3 weeks ago, I believe. And I saw an email came in right before I started this workshop that they have digital proofs ready for me to review, which is really exciting. So yeah, so for that one, that will go in store in Target next summer. And I've got to plan a trip to the United States so I can get a picture in front of it, or I could Photoshop myself, I guess. But yeah, so what that looks like is I'll get paid after that collection actually goes in store and everything gets licensed, because the way that I get paid with most of my deals are licensing with royalties, where I get paid a percentage of every single product that sells. So for this one, I'm doing all of the work this year. I'm probably not going to actually see a paycheck for that until later next year, after that all appears in store. Okay, let's see. More questions coming through. Lena says, if I have no experience with making art collections in Procreate and Photoshop, should I take some classes first and come back when I have experience, or is the program geared towards someone brand new as well? Lena, I'm so glad you asked this. So inside the Art of Collections, it's not a drawing tutorial and it's not a how to make art class. It's what to do with the artwork, how to make strategic art, but it's not going to be a step-by-step drawing tutorial. So one thing I recommend is if you don't know how to make a seamless pattern, a lot of students, they learn that when they're in the program. So we've got resources. I've got a seamless patterns class. I've got a blog post as well that I recommend. You can learn this in tandem as you go. So it really just depends on what you want to take on. So Lena, if you want to spend, the next 6 months or a year building up, learning how to make seamless patterns, that kind of thing, you absolutely can. or you can do that in tandem with being actually inside the program. There's going to be others that are learning the same thing as you as well. But yes, that is going to be that would be a separate resource, because that actual step-by-step tutorial, that's not what this program is. This is more of a learn how to succeed in licensing and get this commercial art licensed out there into the world. All right. Janine says, are all licensing deals based on art you've already created, or some of them based on companies acting like clients who give you a brief? It's both. So, I mean, my favorite ones are who just pick artwork that has been, in my portfolio for years, and they're like, we're going to give an opportunity for this. Those are my favorite deals because I love getting older pieces licensed. It's really validating. But like I mentioned, this big deal with the stationery company for the Target end cap, that's something where they had 5 basic pieces from my portfolio that they selected, but they needed like 30 more. So that was one where I created a bunch of new artwork all around those 5 I'd already created. Actually, that's one of the things I do recommend when we do our monthly collection briefs is if you're strapped for time, don't set out to make this whole huge chunky collection. We know how much time that takes. Just make a mini collection. A mini collection it can just be 2 pieces, 2, 3, 4 pieces. That's pretty much what I'm doing all the time right now. So I'm doing a lot of mini collections. I'm putting them in my portfolio. I'm getting them out there. And the ones that are getting traction, then I'm building more artwork around that. So that would be my recommendation for you. Rather than just going all in on something, test the waters, see if it's going to be lucrative or not, see if people are interested. And if they are, then you can go back and build more artwork around it. Let's see. Melissa says, if I had to choose one, should I have a portfolio or a website? I mean, I think honestly, they could kind of be a 2-for-1. One of my business builders inside the program that I drop is called Website Glow Up. And it basically breaks down, okay, if you have never made a website, or maybe you already have a website, but you want to modify it, what is the simplest, most important thing you need to have on your website? And we really break it down. So have a place where your artwork is represented, have an about page, have a contact page, and you really only need to start with a very little, and you can definitely grow it from there. So that would be my recommendation. Honestly, a lot of my recommendations here are kind of like you kind of test the waters, you start small with something before you pour all of your time going down this one path. So with like collections, you really start small and you build it from there as you have a need or demand from your clients. So that would be my recommendation. Oriana says, my issue is finding the right contact to send the pitch to. Can the course help find real contacts? Yeah, we talk about this a lot, Oriana. So I don't give you emails. I'm not just going to like give a list of emails and say, these are all the people that you need to contact. I just don't think that's sustainable long term. And plus those emails, they change all the time. And so we have students sharing all these different techniques that they're using to find the correct emails inside the program. And our guest speakers that we bring on, we always ask this question, they kind of talk to that as well. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. One that surprised me was, I think it was last year, a lot of my students in the program started talking about the submission forms, and they were finding companies that were putting out open calls to action, like Studio O does this quite often. They'll put out an open call for artists saying, hey, we're taking submissions right now. These are the themes we're looking for. Please email them under this email. And so those submission forms can also be really, really helpful because then you know exactly what they're sourcing when they're sourcing it. When it comes to pitching, I'll speak to this too. The number one reason I see students not winning the pitch, it's almost always because of timing. A lot of companies, they have their own internal sourcing calendars for like, when they're going to be sourcing Christmas or Mother's Day or, maybe just like a seasonal summer. And usually no 2 companies are the same. So what I usually recommend is if you do pitch and you don't hear back, which is really common, send that pitch follow-up. And in the follow-up, I would always ask, hey, is there a better time to be reaching back out with my Christmas collection? Or, hey, I'm actually working on a Valentine's Day collection right now. I want to know when would be a good time to get that in front of you. Or even just saying, hey, I'm actively building, I'm working on some new collections. I want to know, are there any themes or categories that you're going to be sourcing for upcoming in the future? And then that way I can build some new collections around what you're actually looking for. All of these are great things to send to an art director. They provide value. They show that you know how the industry works, that you're collaborative. It's a home run, really. So in terms of those pitches, keep pitching, but never forget to follow up. The majority of licensing deals in our community, they happen from those follow-up pitches, not from the original pitch. There's part of me, I'm like, are art directors like sneakily wanting to see okay, who has the gusto? Who's going to pitch me twice? Who's going to pitch me 3 times? Maybe, I'm not sure. So yeah, that would be my recommendation is really varying that. And, don't be afraid to ask them, what are you looking for? What would you like to see from me? And then really building it from there. Nicole says, what is the guarantee that I will get a licensing deal? Yeah, there is no guarantee, Nicole. We have some students who get licensing deals. We have some students who are still working towards their first deal. So there's no guarantee. It's up to you, what you put into it. I will say that the students that get licensing deals are the ones that are they're the ones that are doing outreach more consistently. They're the ones that are following up with their pitches. They're the ones who are listening to what the clients are asking for, responding back with value. So we have lots of tips inside the program for getting this, but a lot of it needs to be what are you going to take from the program essentially and put out there. Dawn says, can you explain what a mini collection involves? Yeah. So a mini collection is, if you joined my email list, Dawn, we've just been running for the past month a mini collection challenge where I kind of break down what goes into a mini collection. But really, to say it really simply, a mini collection is simply more than one design. So one design is a standalone. A collection are 2 designs that work really well together. This is kind of why I recommend sometimes starting with a mini collection helps you kind of get something little out there. You put it out there. If people are interested, you can build upon it. I have some mini collections that are just 2 standalone art prints that work together. Cards can be nice for this, or wall art, something that would hang on your wall. For Jessica, who you heard from earlier today, her designs that got licensed by Wayfair, that was a mini collection where she kind of watercolored some oysters. So a mini collection can be as small as 2, but then for the collections in my own portfolio that are a lot chunkier and the really biggies, which now my birthday collection is, now it's like the biggest collection in my portfolio because I did it for the client and they asked for all these extra designs. So for those, they're usually a mix of designs where I've got some patterns, I've got some of those standalone art prints, maybe I have some like little spot illustrations, which is a really simple illustration with no background. And you, by the way, if you're listening to these terms and you're just thinking like this is going over my head, you learn all of this inside the program. So you'll learn the vocabulary around a hero print or a standalone or a spot illustration. Spot illustrations are kind of fun because it's one, like when I signed on with my agents, they helped me identify some gaps in my portfolio that I can design around to have a stronger portfolio. And the first thing they said was like, Kat, you need to have seamless patterns. And I was like, no, I don't want to make them. And they were like, no, Kat, you need to do it. If you want wallpaper and fabric, you got to do some seamless patterns. And so I thought they were going to be too hard to learn. I had been doing a bunch of YouTube tutorials and I couldn't figure it out. And then I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to actually learn how to make a seamless pattern. It's so much easier than I thought it was going to be, than like the videos I was watching on YouTube. I've got a blog post and a class, by the way, about how to make a seamless pattern now. That's way simpler than some of the tutorials I watched. But yeah, so that was me sitting down, listening to my agents. They said, you need more seamless patterns in your portfolio. I created them, and then I got my first wallpaper collection. So yeah, that's another recommendation, is kind of like seeing, you'll do this as you build up your collections. You can kind of look back and see, are there any things in my portfolio that are missing? Is there a dream client? We have something in the program called a dreamiest dream list. And it's basically a spreadsheet where you start building out yourself with your ideal clients that you want to work with. We talk through, again, how to find them, how to do that research. And then you build out that list. And then as you're working through your collections in your portfolio, I always recommend, before you get started with this month's collection brief, go take a look at that dreamiest dream list and see, is there maybe a company that you want to create a collection for that you can pitch it to? And before you think that sounds like wasted time, what if they say no? maybe they do say no, but that's going to be commercially viable artwork that you can then pitch to someone else. So, I mean, my own rejections inevitably turn into licensing deals with someone else. So that's the nice thing about creating commercial artwork. It's going to work for a nice variety of clients. All right. Julie says, if you had to choose between Illustrator or Procreate, oh man, which one would you recommend? That's tough because I use both, but I personally use Procreate. The majority of the artwork in my portfolio is Procreate and watercolor and some acrylics. So I do patterns in Illustrator, but I still process everything through Photoshop in the end. Let me put it this way. Illustrator can be really nice for vector, because then you don't have to worry so much about like how large the canvas is. If it's vector, it can scale infinitely and you're fine. Whereas if I maybe draw something or paint it and then I scan it in, I want to make sure I scan it in at a really high resolution so it can be printed nice and large. So, but between Procreate is a raster-based program as opposed to Illustrator, which is vector. And basically what that means is Illustrator artwork, you can scale up infinitely. It's never going to get blurry. Procreate artwork, you can't scale it infinitely. Whatever canvas size you drew it on is the largest it can possibly be. But I love Procreate because I love how it's basically like it's like real drawing. You know, I get to hold my stylus, I get to see it on the screen, and I've been using Procreate for 6 years now, and I'm a huge fan. But I love both. Honestly, Julie, the answer is it kind of comes down to the way you like to illustrate and your style. So I use several programs. I do analog artwork, I do digital artwork, but out of all of these, Photoshop is my favorite. That's what I always come around to. But a lot of my students, they're pretty varied. Some of them use Adobe Suite. Some of them use Affinity. There's different programs you can use essentially. But Procreate is generally my favorite for digital illustration. Julie says, are there a variety of styles amongst participants in the course? Yeah, we have a pretty nice range. You know, I was really impressed to see a really healthy analog artist range. There's a lot of artists that are using traditional mediums, which is awesome because the majority of what I'm seeing nowadays, it's everyone wants to draw digitally, but there's definitely been a rise in a demand for more imperfect drawing, more analog style work. That's something that I've seen a lot of students leverage. Julie, you say a lot of the student examples look like Kat's work, super colorful, similar drawing style. Yeah, I've heard that before too. And I think what that really comes down to is it's a commercial style. It's a style that resonates really well in the commercial landscape. But one thing I always want my students to really understand, and we talk about this in the course and the videos, is the importance of developing a signature style, like a style that feels unique to you as an artist. And the way I explain it to my students is your goal is that if someone's like scrolling through Instagram, when they see a piece of artwork, your goal is that they see it and they're like, I know that's Kat's piece, before they even see your signature or your account handle. That's how you know you have a strong style. And, as I'm scrolling through our community feed, sometimes I do that where I'm trying to go, but like not look at the names when I see the artwork. And sometimes I go like this to see if I can get the correct name. And whenever I do, I'm like, oh yes. And then I always have to comment like, you have a signature style. I figured it out. In terms of like super colorful work, it all just comes down to who you're pitching to, trends in the market, that kind of thing. But I'll say this with my own style, the super colorful stuff does really well on stationery, doesn't do as well on wallpaper. For wallpaper, it's more of my neutral palettes. A lot of my watercolors are what winds up getting licensed for wallpaper. So it's a lot of like these earthy tones, that kind of thing. Let's see. Mariana says, do you have a lawyer and an agent to help you with your pricing? No, but I have an agent. I don't have a lawyer that helps me with pricing. Although when I was getting started with art licensing, I was dating an attorney, so he helps me with some of my contracts. We were joking about this on the call with Vanessa in July, and she was just like, get on Tinder, you'll find your attorney. I'm just kidding. But I would say this. For pricing, we talk about pricing a lot in the community. There's some pricing guidelines I recommend. The Artist Guild, they publish pricing updates every year. That's always a really good resource for that. With an attorney now, I usually I have an attorney in LA that I use for anything that has to do with intellectual property violations. So anytime a company is selling my art without my permission, I just go sick my LA attorneys on them, and they do a great job. So we talk about that as well, like how to protect your copyright, what to do if someone steals your work. But yeah, that's definitely something that gets covered. Let's see. Victoria says, what program is better to designing a seamless pattern with watercolor, Procreate or Photoshop? Victoria, I mean, you can make a seamless pattern in both. I have blog posts and classes that show seamless patterns in Photoshop and seamless patterns in Procreate. But I will tell you, me personally, Photoshop. It's faster. I don't have to deal with the whole like canvas size limitations or layer limits that I have in Procreate. That's like the one thing I wish Procreate would improve upon is letting me have more layers for a huge canvas size. Honestly, for seamless patterns that are analog, something you scanned in, Photoshop's going to be better at that for you, but there's more than one way to do it. For me, I prefer Photoshop. It's just a lot more, it's a lot faster. Carmen says, what's the largest item your Procreate art has been printed on? Oh, it's this sun behind me. So I drew this in Procreate for my sister-in-law's baby shower invites. So I drew this in 2020, this little sunshine. And even though I was drawing it for like A6 cards, which are like this big, I still drew it on the maximum canvas size that my Procreate allowed. I was using an older iPad in 2020, which I think was 27 inches by 27 inches at 300 DPI. And I had this blown up to shower curtains, which are quite a bit larger than that. But turns out with shower curtains, the manufacturer I used didn't need 300 DPI. They only needed 150. So it actually turned out to be just fine. And actually another company used this for bedding, and that actually worked out fine too. I was kind of like, oh man, I might have to vectorize that for bedding, which wouldn't be the end of the world. It's a pretty simple design, but they actually made it work. So it looked great, crisp, nice and printed. Also bedding, I think, is maybe 100, 150 DPI as opposed to something like a print, which is 300. Babby says, I am a picture book illustrator. What do you think is possible to consolidate both markets, licensing and kid lit art, working in two slightly different styles? Let me address the style thing first. It's totally fine to have more than one style in your portfolio. I certainly do. I've got at this point I would say probably 4 pretty strong styles in my portfolio right now. So that's fine, but they're not just all scattered together. I keep them kind of consolidated in these collections. So for picture book illustration plus kids lit art, there's actually some nice overlaps there. We have like Kirsten, who you saw, I played her video earlier in this presentation. She signed a licensing deal with a company who does kid art for like home decor. And that's actually, it's a category that I don't really license in. It doesn't really fit my style. I don't do a ton of kid stuff, but I see students in the program that are reaching out to companies that exclusively do kids home decor. I mean, that's probably the biggest one, or children's apparel. Like in that category of children, those are the 2 biggest ones. And yeah, you could definitely have opportunities to overlap that. Like with Kirsten's example, the artwork, one of the pieces that got selected for the children's home decor, it was just her like beautiful way. She does these like nice analog collages. And so it was like her lettering. It wasn't like even a motif that she drew. It was these letters that she had painted and kind of cut out and composed to make an illustration out of. So yeah, it was great. All right, guys, I realized we are at like 43 minutes over. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Save everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for spending your morning or your evening, wherever you are, with me. Thank you so much. Doors close next Tuesday, August 18th. All right, I hope to see you inside the Cat Coat Collective. And thank you again for joining me today. All right, take care.